Changing the culture is our next challenge. Sasha Scherich is the lead DevOps evangelist at Deutsche Telekom IT. He has been part of Deutsche Telekom for 25 years now, acting as a change agent and promoting an overall DevOps culture and mindset. Sasha will share with us valuable experience driving the change in Deutsche Telekom and what we should focus on when poking the bear, culture. Sasha, please.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I hope you all properly caffeinated and not sad that you're not going to the mainframe stuff, but staying here in the, at the moment, not that dark room. That's good. And I really liked one of the last questions from the panel discussion was, how do you bring mindset and culture into an enterprise? And this is exactly what I'm going to share today. So I hope I can give you some answers to that. But who are we? Maybe I'll start with that. So I work for Deutsche Telekom IT. We are, and you probably all have heard of Deutsche Telekom because we are the biggest European telecommunications provider. We are, I think, number 11 of the largest brands in the world, so the largest European brand, ahead of companies like Daimler, for example. But you only get to that position if, of course, as you probably all know, you have a good IT behind you, and that's where we come in. So I work for Deutsche Telekom IT, and we are the internal IT service provider for Deutsche Telekom. That means we run and produce all the software, all the products and services that Deutsche Telekom needs to serve their customers. Like I said, we are the IT service provider. I said that. I need to go to the next slide. I have some numbers for you from Deutsche Telekom IT, and I will not bore you with all the details, don't worry. Just a couple of things I want to highlight is, first of all, we are roughly 9,500 internal employees at Deutsche Telekom IT. We are at the moment resizing a little bit, so this number is going to shrink in the next couple of months, but at the moment 9,500. And most of them are from Germany, which means, of course, we have a very German work culture, and that, of course, makes things tricky. I mean, we heard yesterday, apparently you need to use ChatGPT to properly formulate your emails when you talk to Germans, but there's also other hurdles you need, because, like I said, we're Germans. Thank you. Now, the problem is, as we've also heard in the panel discussion, that DevOps and doing DevOps transformation, there's just a small part about the technical practices. The much bigger part is the mindset and the culture and changing that. And Germans, as I said, have a special mindset. We love things like accuracy. We love things like being on time, clear hierarchy, clear instructions. And that's great if you talk about German engineering and building nice German cars and everything. But if you want to change something as fundamental as mindset, then it really gets to a problem. So you need to figure out how to change this constantly over and over and talk to all those 9,500 people and try to get them to think about what we need to change. So when we set out in 2018 with our practices, and I think Sam's not here at the moment, so he will not jump on stage, but we used SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, to try out how to do Agile and so on. And what we said is, okay, we'll create a playground, we'll start playing around and create a couple of hubs, which we call them hubs. They're basically release trains, according to SAFe, and use them as a test to see how can we do this change in our company. And this is sort of where the story began of how we needed to figure out on different levels how to change the mindset. And in one of the first hubs I was involved in, also in the pilot hubs, one of the first ones was a hub which was, we were creating products and services for our business customers. And this was a good experiment as a playground thing because we could try out a lot of things because we were on a green field. The other 7 hubs which we chose, or the other 6 hubs, 7 in total, we chose as being a good mix of all kinds of parts which we would encounter later when we do our bigger transformation. And So like I said, the hub I was involved in, we created the products for our business customers, and we had a lot of good advantages on our side. One of them for being we are mainly in a greenfield environment, so that meant we didn't have to take care of all those pesky legacy applications. We could really try things out. The next one is we pulled a lot of young people to the pilot phase. Now, young at Deutsche Telekom IT is relative. Sometimes I'm referred to as one of the young wild ones. And as you've heard, I've been in the company since 25 years, 26 actually, since this year. So young is a pretty relative thing. Yeah, like I said, we're Germans. We're not good with change. We're not good with changing companies. We're not good with all that. So we needed to figure out how to do that. The pilot hubs also had high management attention, which of course helps because if we ran into problems, we could easily escalate that up the tool chain or up the hierarchy chain and ask for help. So that sort of helped us in the first phase. But of course, we still had a lot of problems. We were still surrounded by all those legacy processes. So we had, I mean, like I said, very old company, you know, with rather old people. You have a lot of legacy processes, and they just couldn't keep up with the speed we were putting out with those hubs because we were getting faster and faster, while the legacy processes couldn't cope with that. At the same time, in 2018, we really didn't have a central understanding of what DevOps actually is. Yeah. So if you asked 10 people what DevOps is, you usually got 12 answers and 15 reasons why it's a bad idea in the first place. So we needed to really drive the point home of what is DevOps, what is everyone talking about. And we didn't have any CI/CD tools, the technical part of the whole iceberg thing. So all of those 7 hubs, for example, had to figure out how to set up their own tool chain, how to get a GitLab and so on to run it and set it up. So there was no central platforming or anything in that case. But like I said, what we did have was young, creative people like me who said, okay, we'll try to do something. And I was put into the system team, according to SAFE. The system team is responsible for implementing CI/CD tools and helping the teams understand what DevOps is. And like I said, one of the young wild ones, I raised my hand and said, sure, I'll do that stuff. And that's where I really fell in love with the whole DevOps stuff. Because in my whole career before, I was at different stations all over the place. I did IT operations, I did software operations, I did system administrations, I did project management, but I never really found a home. And this whole DevOps thing really spoke to me and said, okay, this is what I want to be doing and this is what I want to talk to people about. We didn't know the whole mindset thing yet. We were still very on the technical phase. So that's why then we said, okay, the system team will go out and will create workshops on how to explain to people how to build the pipelines, how to use the tools which they need to properly do DevOps, I would say. Good. So that was the pilot. Yeah? And after a while, we were satisfied with the results, and we said, okay, we now have our 7 hubs. They work more or less as good as you can with SAFE, but they work more or less in an agile way. And then we said, okay, we'll scale the whole thing and started to crank out more and more hubs. And one of the things we learned in the pilot was we needed a central tooling platform. So that's why one of the first hubs we created when we started scaling all those hubs. Let's wait for the animation. Should have made it a bit quicker, apparently. One of the first hubs we set up was what we call the CI/CD hub. And we said, okay, this hub will create the platform, the central tooling platform for all of those other hubs, which we are now growing and growing. And they will then help the individual system teams to get the whole DevOps thing going. Yeah. And what we said is, okay, in that CI/CD hub, we will create what we call the DevOps coaching team to help all those system teams and to help all those hubs understand what DevOps is about, the whole technical stuff. So we started out, and because I had already created a couple of workshops on how to build pipelines, I said, great, I'll use the opportunity, I'll move to this DevOps coaching team out of the system team, and we'll sort of lead the way on how to use the tools. But when we started with those workshops, what we pretty quickly learned was that the questions at the end of them were not, how do you add another stage to your pipeline? How do you add more automation? Or how the hell do you do that with a legacy system? But the questions were more of, why do we need it? Yeah, what do you mean with end-to-end responsibility? And this is, I think, where the German mindset thing, again, got in our way. Because, like I said, Germans like hierarchy, like clear responsibilities. Yeah, they love having what we call a Produktionsverantwortlicher, yeah? So a person responsible for production. And suddenly you tell them, okay, you're the team. Yeah, whenever you think your code is ready, put it in the pipeline, it will get deployed to production. They didn't like that. Yeah, they had a lot of questions around that. And we're like, well, but we need a name. Yeah, we can't just put in a team. Yeah, we have a tool for that where we have a name. You can only put names in there. You cannot put team names in there. But yeah, we worked around it and said, okay, this is really important. You need to think about this end to end. You need to think of your services more of products and not as projects and all the good things. Yeah. So yeah, that was really tricky. Like I said, I already like talking about DevOps. I fell in love with the whole DevOps thing. So for me, it was an easy switch to go into the coaching team and to talk to more and more people. And it was also really interesting because I got to meet a lot of the hubs, talk with them, hear about their problems and everything. And we said, okay, as every good team should have, we have a couple of services which we put out, which will then help those teams. After we figured out, okay, it's not just about the technical stuff. We need to drive home the point of mindset, of culture and everything. So one of the first things we did, and again, I know this is a tool from SAFe, but bear with me, it's not that bad. We went out and did DevOps Health Radar sessions with the teams. So the DevOps Health Radar is 16 questions around the whole software development lifecycle of an application or a product, which starts with things like hypothesize. Did you write a hypothesis statement for your new feature and so on? Goes over all the way to automation, testing, deployment, and then comes back again at the end of pivot and persevere. Do you really want to keep this feature? So actually not a bad tool. But we said, it's an Excel sheet, and in the end you get this nice spider graph, but we said, okay, we can't just give the people those Excel sheets, we need to go into the teams and talk to them. And then we created what we call the DevOps Health Radar sessions, where teams could book us, sort of, and sometimes we told them they should really book us because we heard rumors about them, and went in and we did 4-hour sessions with them where we went through all of those 16 questions and explained to them, first of all, what the questions mean, because no one could pronounce hypothesize, but also what's behind it, yeah, what's the logic behind it. And those sessions were really interesting because we usually did them with the whole team. Inside hubs, we had, as you can see, different teams. Sometimes if they were very similar, we would take even 2 or 3 teams at the same time, and everyone was involved. So even the developers, the software engineers, the ops guys, everyone got a vote in what do you think in this question, how many points should your team get for that? And the beautiful thing on the Health Radar is that at the same time, you can always see, okay, where should you be going? Yeah, what should you be doing to get more points? And this created a lot of aha effect. So more than once we had situations where one team said, okay, well, for deployment, we're at an 8, yeah, which is pretty good. And the other guys from the other team were saying, well, we're at 2 or 3. And then I go, why are you at 8 when we're at 2 or 3? And then they started talking, and that's why those things took 4 hours. Yeah. But it was really good and really valuable to drive home the point of, okay, this is what we should be doing and want to be doing. Another service we did was DevOps introduction sessions. As I said, we had 12 different answers to what DevOps is. So we said, okay, we need to bring that point home and do that again and again. And we did a lot of DevOps introduction sessions. I think I did 50 to 60 of those to different hubs because we have over 100 hubs in total. And kept talking about it and so on. And sooner or later, everyone knew, okay, ask the bearded guy for DevOps, then he'll come and talk to you for an hour and you'll be happier after, usually. Often, of course, I was not happy because I heard, yeah, we can't do it because of this, and this is not going to work, and we're never going to use that here. But in the end, yeah, they sort of got the idea of what we wanted to do. And after a while, we even created a video online internally in our platform, which I think has been viewed 2,000 times, I think, up until now. So apparently there's still some knowledge gap of what DevOps is, and people are still eager to learn about it, which is good. And the third service we offered at the DevOps coaching team, of course, was team consulting. So that meant we went out to those teams and we helped them, usually after we did a DevOps health radar session with them. We went out and said, okay, so now how do you want to improve your scores? What are the areas you need improvement on? Where can we help you? And again, that helped me a lot because I got to see all of the different hubs and talk to all different kinds of people, some really struggling with legacy applications, some on greenfield, and it was really nice to get this overview of what exactly they were all struggling with. In 2020, I think, I have to check my notes, 2021, sorry. In 2021, we said, okay, we have the coaching teams, we have the hubs, everything set up. Why not add another layer of complexity and make it our life a little bit more difficult for us? And we decided, okay, we will group everyone based on their his or her primary skills into skill-based chapters. So we said, okay, let's change the whole organization. The people stay in the hubs on the production side, but they get a new people lead depending on his or her skills. Again, as I said, Germans are not good with change. This brought a whole new dynamic, and everyone was, okay, which chapter am I going to be? Which are the future proven chapters, and so on. So it brought a lot of whirlwind into it. But nevertheless, yeah, we said, okay, we'll put this into place. And then also the idea behind the chapters was that each of those chapters drives their individual topic. I'm, of course, part of the DevSecOps chapter, which means we drive the whole topic of DevOps into the company more and more. And we said, okay, we have the level of teams with the system teams, individual inside the hubs. We have the team consulting from the DevOps coaching team, but we were noticing we also needed to explain to the business owners and the product managers of those hubs what DevOps is, and because the chapter is responsible for driving this, we said we'll set something up for that. And then we said, okay, each people lead in the DevSecOps chapter is also what we call a DevSecOps SPOC, a single point of contact, which gave the hubs a chance to talk to someone about DevOps, and also gave us a chance as people leads to talk to the hubs of what they actually need, what kind of skills they need, and so on, what they were struggling with. Germans usually, but yeah. And we said, okay, like I said, all of the people leads are a SPOC for 7 to 8 hubs, depending a little bit on the size of the hubs, and regularly talk to them about DevOps. Again, we put up some services which those SPOCs then provide to the hub and to the whole company. One of them, of course, being demand management. So we deliver the DevOps engineers that the hubs need for their system teams, for their other teams, for whatever. But we try not to do this just as a people management thing of, okay, well, I need 5 DevOps engineers and we'll send them to them, but more of, okay, what exactly do you need? How many do you need, junior or senior developers or DevOps engineers, and so on. So we really try to figure out what their actual needs are to then give them the proper demand they need. Skill management. While talking to the hubs, we know what kind of skills are needed. So we know if there are any upcoming technologies which we should teach our DevOps engineers so that they can go on training, learning, maybe not 20% a week, but they can learn new stuff every once in a while. And so we make sure that we have the right skill in our chapter. And of course, again, the talking to teams, talking to people, because changing a mindset is all about talking to people. And the SPOCs, they also do DevOps consulting for the hubs. So they go in and say, okay, show me your DevOps health raters. How did they look for the individual teams, and how can we overall improve your DevOps implementation? So that meant, after a while, we now had sort of 3 levels on how to push DevOps into the company. And I learned that you constantly have to talk and talk to everyone in the company about, okay, what DevOps is, and constantly remind them and push that. And then we said, okay, do we really have help on all the levels we have? Because in every company, as well as in ours, there's this strange leadership team thing. They think they know what DevOps is. They don't always do that. They may have heard the buzzwords and like to use the buzzwords, but they don't always necessarily understand what's behind it. And to be fairer and not as negative to them, also they have a hard job and a hard time. Because constantly, of course, a company is bombarded from the outside with different situations which we need to take care of. One of them for us, for example, was the whole war of Russia against Ukraine. Because we had a significant amount of developers in St. Petersburg, which we needed to figure out how to relocate them, because we didn't just want to fire them and drop them, but how to get them out of St. Petersburg into different countries. A lot of them are now in Spain and in Greece, and how to manage all that. Because those developers were at the same time working on vital products for us, which we really needed for the future of telecom. Yeah? And so we needed to figure out how to do that. And all those things, if they show up, then of course changing something as intangible and as invisible, let's say, as a mindset, falls off the table immediately. Yeah, everyone goes back to the proven ways of working and says, okay, well then we'll do this, we'll set up a call, blah, 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 but no one's talking about DevOps anymore. And I had my journey, my DevOps journey, through the system team to the DevOps coaching team. I was now part of the DevSecOps chapter leadership team to talk about with the SPOCs and to coordinate with the SPOCs. And I started to get a little bit frustrated because I said, okay, we really need this help on all levels. And fortunately, there were a couple of other people from Hungary who were also felt this frustration and said, okay, let's get together and let's propose something to the leadership team to help them along DevOps. And I'm happy to say that they listened to me, they believed me. I mean, they had all heard of me, of course, because the crazy bearded DevOps guy was talking all the time about it. But they said, okay, we'll trust you. What is your proposal? And we said, okay, let's set up a DevOps expert council, which sort of ties all this together and puts all these levels together. And like I said, I'm happy that they believed it and said, okay, do that, set up your team. And we now have, at the moment, we were only 3 people. We had 4. One of them we lost to the whole downsizing thing, which we're going through at the moment. But we have 4 people in the DevOps Expert Council at the moment, which we use then to also, again, bring home the whole point of DevOps. It's a joint venture of the IT leadership team, so we have a regular contact with several of the IT leadership teams, meaning the ones directly under our CTO, Peter Leukert, the ones directly under him, the SVPs, they're all what we call the IT leadership team, and we regularly exchange with them. But because I'm part of the chapter, of the leadership team of the DevSecOps chapter, we also have the regular exchange with the chapter, and we make sure that the others in the DevOps Expert Council are also working inside the hubs, in one of those hubs, in different roles, so that we get this constant exchange and really build a joint venture from all of those sides. Again, we have a couple of services which we put out. One of them, of course, is we are or specifically because we needed a name again, I am the DevOps change agent. We couldn't put in the expert council, unfortunately, but I'm the DevOps change agent for Telecom IT. And try to drive this whole topic home again and again. Also, we do a lot of external exchange. That's why I'm here. This is one of the things we do. We try to learn from other companies. And as I think this whole DevOps community is a great thing, I learned a lot out of this DevOps community. I like to give back as well. So that's why I'm happy that someone asked, how do you bring DevOps into the enterprise? This is our approach. May not fit for you, but I love giving back. So the external exchange we do and is also very valuable. One other thing we're working on at the moment is what we call SRE practices. I think we're not ready yet to have dedicated SRE teams, because then someone will say, oh, ops guys are now called SREs, that's great, which is not the case. So we're working on SRE practices, implementing them. As every big company has, I think this is no secret, which I shouldn't share, is we have troubles with stability from time to time, So we need to make sure that we have stable systems, and what we're doing at the moment from the Expert Council is making sure that this stability community uses SRE practices to increase their stability. As Sam quoted the chaos engineering book, I'm still waiting for someone to do chaos engineering on a production. And this is also one of the things in all of the hubs I visited. I keep asking, okay, can you show me chaos engineering? They don't want to. They're not there yet. But sooner or later, maybe we'll get there. And one of the first products we created when we set up the DevOps Expert Council is what we call the DevOps Maturity Score, which I'll give you a short insight in what it is now. So the DevOps Maturity Score, we said, I had talked to so many hubs and talked to so many people about what DevOps is and where we are with our journey. And so I had a pretty good gut feeling of where we were. But of course, we needed facts and figures. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can say, well, then just use DORA or use flow metrics. We're not there yet. We have a workers' council, we are Germans, yeah? So we need regulations. We can't just say, okay, everyone use DORA metrics. Yeah? Because what if then we compare teams with those DORA metrics? And what if flow metrics? Hellish stuff, can't use that. So we said, okay, we'll do something else. And the idea was that we use this temporarily until we have DORA metrics, flow metrics, or whatever we can use to really check our performance, but we need something in between. And in the end, yeah, it's as you can see, you can only change what you measure. So we came up with a maturity score, which is 7 simple questions, which touch on all of the areas you should be doing in regards to DevOps, things like automation, business interaction, deployments, and so on. And all of those 7 questions have 5 predefined answers. So you can just use a drop-down field. We created a small website for that. It's just a website. It does not store data because then the Workers' Council would need to get involved because we are storing data. So, but you can just, at the end, generate your report of where you are with the maturity score. And we specifically did that so that the business owners of the hubs could do that themselves and didn't have to drag the bearded DevOps engineer out of the system team to help him answer those questions. Yeah? So they're very high level. Really more of the mindset thing of what you should be doing with DevOps so that everyone can answer them and hopefully to get those business owners also thinking about what they actually should be doing. Yeah? Because with the predefined answers you can see, okay, I'd love to click on the 5, the highest points, but I can't because we're not doing this and this, so maybe he'll start thinking about implementing that in the next iteration. In the end, that score calculates to 5 levels of maturity, or maps to 5 levels of maturity, from initial to managed, defined, measured, and optimizing. And this is our current score at the moment. So you can see, as an average, over 54 hubs, we have managed to collect the data, and we are at 2.9, which puts us nicely in the maturity stage of defined, which means we're on a good way. But as if you have paid attention, you heard that we have over 100 hubs. So that means only roughly half of them have answered this questionnaire in the first place. Yeah? Because the other half apparently either have other stuff to do or don't see it as that important. And again, 7 questions with a drop-down field, but okay. Yeah, that is the score at the moment, and now, of course, we're going to work on improving that score over time. Yeah, we want to revisit that. We are currently talking to all the SPOCs, which I mentioned earlier, that they talk in their regular talks with the hubs, that they use this maturity score to learn more about the hubs and so on. By the way, if you want to know what those 7 questions are, this is the shameless plug to my LinkedIn account. I wrote an article about that a couple of months ago where you can see all the 7 questions with the predefined answers. So it's nothing secret. You can have a look or ask me later. So that's basically our story. Yeah? As we noticed, we needed to fight on different levels, yeah, and push this whole thing on different levels. This is our setup. This is what we came up with, and which sort of organically grew over time, and is sort of also my journey through the whole DevOps thing. Because, as I said, I started in the system team. Now I'm the expert council, part of the expert council, and now talking to you guys. Yeah, but sometimes it's better to have a quote of how we are going, yeah, and how it's working. So I brought a quote from Urs Resnius. Urs Resnius is from Budapest, and he's the SVP for Operations and DevSecOps chapters at Deutsche Telekom IT. And his quote is that he said, "We aimed to create better software and reduce time to market through DevOps. Yes, we now release software 9 times faster, but the profound cultural shift was even more impactful. Being a large telco headquartered in Germany and burdened with legacy is not an excuse not doing DevOps. In short, if we can do it, you can do it." Yeah. Of course, we're still on our journey. So if you want to connect to me and if you want to talk to me, we are still looking for help. Yeah, we still have not figured everything out. One of them, I already mentioned it, is bringing flow metrics to life. maybe it's a workers' council thing, maybe it's also a mindset thing. Yeah, we need to figure that out. But I'd love to hear from companies, enterprises, German enterprises with workers' councils who have figured out how to bring flow metrics to life. Yeah. In general, the whole trust in metrics is something we're still heavily working on, and bridging the gap between business and IT. Yeah, because we are Deutsche Telekom IT, we're not part of the business. Yeah, that makes it difficult. So if you have similar organizational setups, if your business side is somehow aware of what you're doing in the strange machine room with your DevOps transformation, and you've learned how to deal with legacy mindsets and break the silos, then reach out to me. This is the QR code to my LinkedIn. Happy to chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sasha.
Sure.
Such a great achievement for such a young person.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
Congratulations, congratulations. A couple of questions pop out. So first of all, if you could do it again, what would you change?
More color in the beard, I would say, because that's what I found out over the last 7 years or 5 years. The color goes out fast. Yeah, when I started in 2018, this was not as great. But in general, I think. So it was good that these levels and these teams grew organically, but I would say in the beginning I would focus more on the leadership team, because I think as much as DevOps is a grassroots movement and should come from the individual engineers who want to do this, yeah, there also sort of seems to be some pressure needed from the top to really get this going. Yeah. And I would say we should have started way earlier with more metrics. Yeah, but this is again psychological safety. No one trusts the metrics. So everyone's afraid of, if we start using DORA metrics, then we'll start comparing teams and ranking teams, which is not what we want to do. But yeah, everyone's afraid of that. So
great, thank you. Okay, so when building CI/CD hub, how did you battle with every team preferences and opinions on how CI/CD should look like?
That's a good question. Again, I think it goes back to who's your customer, and we made it clear for the CI/CD hub, at least for the team who was building what we call Magenta CI/CD. It's at the core, it's a GitLab. We are, I think, the second largest. We have the second largest GitLab Ultimate license in the world. So we have a lot of users on GitLab, and there was always the struggle of, okay, what do we build into it? We have some repositories in there. We have identity access management built in and everything. Some scanning tools, and we said, okay, we need to make sure that this is what the people want and need. And we never went out and said, okay, every hub now has to use this Magenta CI/CD solution. We always made sure that it's what would help them and make sure that it fulfills their needs, so that not all of the hubs run out and just set up their own GitLab, which happened in the beginning with the pilots. We do still have some individual GitLab installations here and there, but I mean, as you can see from the license size, most of them are now using this Magenta CI/CD. So that's, yeah, we made sure who is our customer and made sure that we give the developers and the engineers what they needed.
So how strict were you on standardizing practices and tools across teams?
So at the beginning, we were not strict at all. We said, okay, everyone can try something out. And then stuff happened, like we had one hub where one team said, okay, we'll create a new API, and we'll do this with a crazy programming language, which we never have heard of, but we all wanted to learn it. Yeah, so we're 5 guys, let's learn this language. And of course, that doesn't really work, yeah, in the end. You have to be aware that you can't give the teams too much autonomy. You have to somehow have guardrails in place. And at the moment, what we're doing is sort of getting those guardrails closer and closer together to sort of funnel them all back into the same topic. Because we noticed, you can't let everyone do what they want. Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have challenges, on kind of triggering these teams to come first with suggestions, or you kind of led the way and help them come with the ideas, introducing this type of behavior? You mean the behavior in general, or for the? Sure. I mean, like I said, we needed to make sure that the teams really wanted to do this, and what we also tried is doing lighthouse projects, we call them. So we tried to find teams where we said, okay, guys, these are now doing DevOps, and look at them, they're so happy, yeah, and they're delivering code so fast. Why don't you all want to also do this? Yeah. So that's what we did try. Yeah. Okay. And how much beer was spent on this whole?
A lot.
Okay.
Maybe the beard drains the color. I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, but yeah, of course. But again, it helps. I mean, we're all people, and it helps interacting and bringing the people together. And also in the hubs, even though I know there's not many SAFe fans around here, which is fine. I'm not a SAFe fan either. But having a PI planning every couple of months, where you get, as we don't do that every PI planning, but at least once a year, we bring all the developers from all over Europe together to talk and to have a beer together, and that really helps.
Great. Please, one round of applause for Sasha. Thank you once again.